Hello, this time I will be building a new website for my Builder software tool, which is right now using Hugo, but I decided to renew it and give it a new look. And while doing that, I think why not do it with Astro? So we will be building this site from scratch using Astro, and by doing that we will learn the basics of the Astro, so you can implement it for your own portfolio or blog websites as well. So let's jump into Astro. So Astro is a using JavaScript at its core, so we gonna need a node and npm installed on our system, and then you feel free to follow the documentation because it's amazing. It tells you all the stuff you need, so we will be referencing that. So I will run the setup wizard with this command here in my projects folder. So okay, it welcomes us, and probably gonna need, yeah, it is asking for a name for our project, so I will just name it Builder software Astro site. It's asking me I want to include sample files so I can show you the basics. I'm not planning to use TypeScript. No, I'm not planning to use it. Yes, install the dependencies. I don't want to initialize a Git this time, and it's initializing our project. It shouldn't take that long. It depends on your internet connection. Okay, it's initialized and install all the packages. So we should be able to go to Builder software Astro site, and yeah, we have our files ready. So let's look at them, what they are doing. So we have a public directory, source, and some other files. So the public folder is where we store our static assets, like static folder in the Hugo. And the core part we are spending our time is the source folder or source directory. So we have components, layouts, and pages ready. So components are the components, the parts that we use on our sites, and we have layouts. The layouts are the templates that all the pages that use to standardize the page. For example, for our use case, we're gonna have header and footer on each page. So instead of including header and footer on each page file, we just create a layout that contains the header and footer, and then just import the layouts on the pages. So when we do a change on the layout, it will be implemented to all the pages. And we have pages folder, which is where we store the pages. But along with the pages, we're gonna create a new folder called contents. So that's where we store the contents, like Hugo, the markdown files. But Astro does not force you to create a content directory. You can still use the pages, but if you have lots of blog posts or documentation pages, in our case, you're definitely gonna need a content directory. So let's start this site with npm run dev. It's exposed a website in localhost 4321. So let's take a look at that. 4321. Yeah, it welcomes us with a sample page. So let's see how it works in the code. So we definitely gonna have a page called index.astro, and we have these guys here, like front matter in Higo. That's where we inject our scripts. But by default, Astro does not ship JavaScript to the clients like React or Vue. It is building those and then just sending static HTML to the client. So that's why we use this special stuff here. But again, it's not stopping you to use script tags. So what they did is they created a layout and then they imported it like this and they called it like a component and then they placed their content in it. So okay, that looks interesting. So let's see what happens if we delete this main tag and those styles. So we have an empty page, but we have a background, so that means our layout works fine. And also we can see there's a title called Welcome to Astro, and we can see that on the browser title as well. So let's take a look at the layouts. So okay, we have this generic HTML template, and there is a style which has something called is global. That means these styles going to be a globally accessible along with all the pages and the components that uses this layout. And then we have this thing here which is equals to astro.props that enables us to, let's see, index astro, that enables us to pass this title attributes. So it requires the title and it defines a interface and it makes sure the title is a string. I think it will work without this interface as well. So let's take a look. Yeah, but if you plan to use a TypeScript, so that interface will definitely help you. Okay, that's cool. So we can create a layout and import it. It's just like a component. And I think you can do the same thing as a component as well, but creating in the layouts folder makes it more clean. Okay, they're looking nice, but we only have one page, right? And I want to have more pages. So first of all, I will just remove those styles and I will implement Tailwind, which is super easy with Astro as well. So let's go to integrations tab on the documentation and add integrations. If we scroll down, we should be able to see the Astro.js Tailwind integration. So they had just this little command here, and it will automatically import Tailwind to our Astro project. And it's asking me, yes. It install all the dependencies and do the hard work for us. Yeah, I want to create that config and I want to add that integration as well. And boom. Let's test it out by running it again. It should work fine. Yeah, now if you go here and let's create a div, and give it a class, text, for example, for x large, and text red 500. If you go to the site, yeah, that means Tailwind works fine. Okay, now we can move on to listing our documentation files. What I mean is, just for example, let's use my website as an example. So I have a blog page here, and again, my website is also Astro. So we have a blog that lists all the blog contents here. And when I click one of them, it shows the content on a specific page. So we want to do the same thing just for the documentation, like this page. Alright. So in order to do that, we have to come up here and we have to create a new directory under source folder called content. And also we're gonna need to create a new file under pages, and I want to call it as docs.astro. And let's go to docs.astro and copy this guy, and instead of this title, change it to documentation. I'll also say that as well. Okay, so if we refresh, nothing changed. If we go to /docs, we see our documentation title. That means our page is working fine. So it's use folder-based, file-based routing instead of defining the routes in a JSON or JavaScript file. That's easy to create any route. So now I want to list all of my content. So in order to do that, I need to have some content, right? So let's create a new content under content. And first of all, sorry, my bad. I want to create another directory under content called docs, because in the future I may create a blog as well to the same site. So I will just create a blog folder under the content. And let's create our first content for the documentation, like what we can call it. We can call it as introduction.md. We're gonna use Markdown for start. And let's go to introduction.md. So I've just typed hello. Nothing changed. It cannot access it because we did not define it yet. So we are on the docs page, and I would like to add this. So unlike Higo, Astro uses collection keyword. So we're gonna import get collection function from Astro content, and we're gonna define the docs, and it's an async function, so we're gonna await it. Get collection, and our collection name is going to be docs because that's the folder name that we defined. So if we gonna do this for the blog, we're gonna say blog. All right. Okay, now we should have our documentations in an array ready to use. So let's create another div here, and inside that I would like to loop through these docs. It's just JavaScript, so we're gonna map that. Oops, I'm trying to adapt a new keyboard, so that's my bad. We're gonna return, so I will use parentheses, and I'm gonna say it as a entry or item, whatever we want. Okay, we are looping through each documentation item, and I would like to create an anchor tag for this, and for the href I'm gonna say let's use this one. It's going to be docs slash and this dollar, and it's going to be item dot slug, as I know each slug going to generate it automatically for each entry, and I want to give it something as a title. So I will say, you know, get the item data title, and it's gonna create an error because we are not defined the title. And as you can see, it's not just like slug, we are accessing a data object and then title. The data object comes from the front matter. So let's go to the introduction markdown, let's define our front matter, and I will define a title here. So we can call it introduction, and let's see how it goes. Alright, we have our introduction here. It's coming correct, and when I hover over it, we see the link that we wanted, but if I go through that, it's gonna say not found. Okay, let's create one more content to make sure it works fine. Content docs, and let's call it installation.md, and I will just copy this guy, installation, hello from installation. Now if we go back, refresh, we see 2 of the items. Okay, that's cool. So before moving forward, I would like to just add flex call gap 2, so we can just list them, maybe gap 1. Alright, now I want to show something when we click each of the links. So how are we gonna do that? Again, it's a page, so we're gonna create a new page under pages folder, and we're gonna call it, let me think, oh, we have to create another folder, make there src pages, call it docs, and then move our docs.astro into this page, this folder, pages, docs, as index.astro, and I want to copy that as well, and I want to create a new file under the docs, called this slug.astro. Oh, my bad. So we have to help this guy. So what we're gonna do is gonna add no, not a pipe. Or can I do that? Let's make sure it works. Let's see pages, docs. Okay, it's created, and let's go inside of it. And yeah, it's gonna cry because it cannot find the layout, so we have to go one folder up, and boom. Also, we moved our documentation listing into index astro, so we have to update that as well. Now, okay, our listing works fine, but the slug page gives an error because it is explaining that you need get static paths function. So we're gonna add this code into the slug page. So let's go back to that. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna export async function called get static paths. Yeah, and inside that you're gonna tell that get the docs and return docs and map entry. So we're looping each of them and returning an object. Params slack entry dot slack. Okay, and we're gonna pass a props, and it's going to be the entry itself. Okay, and we have to make it async, and instead of this const, I'm gonna do that and remove this satisfies thing and remove this. Oops, sorry. Yeah, that make it really complicated. If I do that, okay, now it looks fixed. Then we're gonna get our entry, the specific entry we're gonna show with astro.props, and we're gonna get our contents. That's the components that displays our content. From our entry. So I can just remove that and display the contents just like that. Let's try. Yeah, we are under docs introduction and we see our content, so it works really fine. And if we go to introduction markdown, and if we add more content and like a list here, it's not styled, as you can see. It just displays that, but it does not get styled. So to do that, we have a really cool plugin from Tailwind. It's called typography. So let's install it. npm install it as a development dependency. Tailwind CSS typography. And after installing that, we're gonna update our Tailwind config, and we're gonna add this plugin require. My bad, I closed terminal. Tmax attach session, and let me just make the view more bigger. So everyone can see. Okay, we're gonna require the Tailwind CSS typography. Okay, I think restarting this guy again will help. Refresh, nothing changed, but it works. Okay, now what this plugin does is we come here and wrap this content, the div, and give it a class called prose, which comes with Tailwind's typography plugin. Now, as you can see, it's styled. So we can define lots of classes in this div. Like we can change the font color for the dark theme, like dark prose inverts. So as you can see here, we can define lots of classes, and we may need to use it again and again. So instead of repeating code, we can create our components, and the documentation suggests to create a prose component. So if you go to prose and do this, I will just use the prose class for now. And in Astro, if you want to place the component child into itself, you're gonna use this slots called slots elements. This will just dump the child components. So instead of using this, we're gonna use the prose components. And you might need to import it, like layouts from components and prose. So if we refresh it again, it's working cool. Alright, you get the idea behind it. So it allows you to style that type of stuff. Okay, now we have a home page, that index page, and we're gonna have a docs page that lists the documentation. So you can, instead of a docs, you can make it blog, so it's gonna list the blog content. And if I click a specific item, it will redirect me to the specific page, and that calls a slug page, and that reads the content of the page and just places that in an order that we want it. So that's the basics of the Astro. And you can, you have Tailwind, the other stuff is just, HTML. So you can style the site on the flavor that you want. Maybe we can, for example, create header components, so I can show you how it works. Header than Astro. It's more like Svelte, I think, but you can use Svelte inside the Astro as well, which supports, you can use React, Vue, Svelte inside Astro without, initializing a new project. So you can use multiple frameworks on a same project, but that will ship if required JavaScript to the client. But for general purpose things, the Astro's built-in component system is really great, and I enjoy using it. Okay, let's go to the header component that we created. It's just a header. And for example, we can just define it now, and I will just give it an anchor tag. Like we can call it home, call it docs. And let's throw some Tailwind classes here. Flex, item center, gap 2, container, mx, auto. Okay, and on here I like to call the layouts, and in here I want to call the header. My Astro plugin does not work properly. It will auto import that on Vim, whatever. Import header from. We are on the layouts, so go one up, go to components, header Astro. Alright. Now, yeah, our header is here. And let's add container to the center of it. Again, as I mentioned, we have slots in the layout as well. So let's create a main. And I'm gonna add class container mx. So now we have our content on the center. So that's how easy Astro is. So in this step, I will show how to deploy it to the Netlify, and Astro is quite popular, so all the major static site hosting providers supports Astro, so you don't need to define lots of parameters, they just auto detect it like Vercel Netlify. So okay, first we have to make sure our site is working. It looks like it's working, so we can move to deployment. So in order to deploy to Netlify, we're gonna need to create a GitHub repository. So it will pull the project from the GitHub repository. So I'm gonna create a new one called Build Software Astro Site, and I'm gonna make it public. But it doesn't have to be public site. Okay, and I will go back to the project and initialize a git, and I will add all the stuff, and I'm gonna commit first, and I will add this remote, and I will push it to the GitHub. Okay, hit refresh. We see our website pushed to our GitHub repository. So okay, now I go back to Netlify, and I am gonna initialize a new project. So I will refresh it because it may need to pick up that repository. I authorized my GitHub account, so I will search Build Software Astro. It may not access it because of the permission. Oh, okay, it accessed that, and I click on that, and okay, I don't need to give it a, or I can give it a Build Software Astro site. That's my site name. It doesn't matter. I want to deploy my main branch. My base directory can be empty. It uses npm run build to build the site, and it's gonna use the dist directory to publish. And I think that's all I need. So let's deploy this site. It may take quite a bit time depending on the Netlify or your other provider. So basically it pulls from this repository and then builds it on the server and then deploys it to Netlify. Okay, it says published. Let's see. Yeah, we can see our site, and all the pages looks like working. Yeah, we have our sites up and running. So let's make another change on our site. So I forget to add a footer, right? So I want to add a footer component. Let's create our footer class container mx auto, oops, and inside here I'm just gonna say my fancy websites, and let's add this I can't find it. Copy. That's copyright symbol 2024, and maybe we can make it more smaller. Text small. Let's make it text neutral. I don't know, 600. It's more a lighter color. And before pushing the sides, I want to test it locally to make sure it's not breaking something. That's our local site. I refresh that. Can't see it because we did not edit to our layout. So let's back to layouts and add a footer. And again, we have to import that footer here. Alright, now yeah, we can see that, but you know, we have lots of space and I don't want it to be pushed up like a header. So what we can do is we can go to the body. This is a little trick that I love to use, and I'm gonna make this body a flex and flex call. It will change nothing yet, but if we go to the main, oh sorry, if you go to the body again and add minimum height screen, so it will says, you know, my minimum height is going to be the screen height, which is 100 VH in CSS. Okay, nothing changed again. And we will go to the main and add grow. That will use all the available space on the page. And yeah, as you can see, it pushed our footer to the down, and it does not edit a scroll bar, which is good. It's not overflowing. Okay, so we made those changes, so I can push it live, right? So I'll git status, and I will add all the changes that I did, and I will commit with a message of footer edits, layouts updated, and I will push that to my GitHub repository. Yeah, it committed that, so we should be able to see another deploy. Yeah, it's building. It picked that change up, so it's building that right now. We can see the deployment log here, and again it detected that we use Astro, which is cool. Okay, it's initializing the deployment server, and it's built that. Yeah, that's fast. Okay, now yeah, our latest version published. We go to home and refresh. We can see our footer here, and it looks fantastic. Alright, you get the idea. You can move forward from this stage. I will leave this repository link down below, and probably gonna update it because I'm gonna need to update this old looking site to something more usable. Yeah. You might ask, why Astro, why not Hugo? I think I started to like Astro more than Hugo because in Astro it lacks of, you know, componentization like Astro. They have partials in Hugo, but it's not easy to pass parameters, you know. it's coupled to the page, but in Astro we can just, you know, use components. And also it allows you to use popular component libraries if you are really into that. So that's why I used Astro in this project. But again, at the end, all the static site generators generates a static site HTML that the client can consume. But you know, Astro is looking cool, and I highly suggest that you can try it. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.